Good afternoon, YouTube. I got the belt yesterday for the welder and got the control box finished up and installed. While I was putting the control box together, I dropped the voltmeter twice, and that new old stock 1940s/50s vintage gauge no longer works. So I have to get a new gauge, but in the meantime I did some initial testing, and at idle this thing makes 43 volts DC at idle. So I revved it up a little bit and threw about a 2-inch long bead of weld on a piece of scrap with an 1/8 inch stick of 6010, and don't look too bad. You can see pretty good penetration. Started here, finished here. You can see the cold start with the cold piece of steel. Got a little bit of build up there initially, but you know, I started burning in pretty good, and 6010 works pretty good. I've done this before with 6013 or 7018, and not my favorite welding rod, but you know, it'll work. But 6010 and this stuff I've had laying around for, oh geez, picked it up off the ground on a job site that ironworkers left laying around. So it's been probably 6 years been sitting in the garage here. But here's my control box. I painted her olive drab. Kind of looks nuclear, doesn't it? And these are those Miller push style. They didn't have any black ones, so I bought a red one and painted it black. If you don't know which one's positive and which one's negative, you probably shouldn't be welding. And yeah, there she is. So I'll get set up on the tripod and give her a little test, so you can see what the fuss is all about and why I think it's important to have this when you're out dinking around in a desert in a 30-year-old truck that might break. So I'll get you set up here and we'll be right back. Making 99.5 volts at that RPM right now. This is the one I did originally in the original test that I didn't film at all. And then when I started up the truck and started welding and I didn't adjust the camera, I did this weld. I don't know if you can see that. I guess it's not pretty, but it'll work in a pinch. And that's the other side that you saw me weld, and that was after the metal had been heated. So it actually flowed a little bit better. Now, bear in mind that this is pretty crude, and like I mentioned before, this isn't a production welder. I mean, this isn't something that you're going to use to fab up a custom bumper. I mean, you could, I suppose, but I wouldn't recommend it. And you know, the way this thing is set up, it's probably got about a 10% duty cycle at 120 volts. So you know, I mean, like I said before, it's not a production welder, but it's nice to have out in the field if you're 50 miles from in the middle of nowhere, and you know, all you need to do is booger a weld on a piece of metal to get you, you know, suppose you break the drive shaft, God forbid, you break a drive shaft on this truck. If you break the rear drive shaft, you're screwed, because you can't just take the drive shaft off and limp out on the front drive shaft because it's got a slip yoke on it. So you know, you're gonna, if you don't have that slip yoke in place, you'll just drain all the fluid out of the transfer case, and you're going to be screwed anyway. I mean, you might get a half a mile or maybe a mile, but you know, transfer case stops working, you're not going to be draining the front drive shaft either. So you know, if you can just booger the drive shaft back together, it doesn't have to be balanced, just needs to be turning, so you can limp out of the damn trail to get to the road, and you call a tow truck. So, I mean, it's like I said before, it's not something that's absolutely positively necessary, but a lot of times we'll go out, you know, we'll take the whole family, we'll load up, and we'll go out without another vehicle out, you know, with us, without a buddy, and if I break out in the trail and I need to weld something up, I'd rather have it than not have it. So, I mean, what you're going to want to have is, you know, you can get an inexpensive welding mask. You're going to need a welding mask. You can't weld without them. You can get those at Harbor Freight for just a regular, you know, one with a, you know, number 10 filter in it for probably 15 or 20 bucks. That one that you saw me put on, I got from Harbor Freight. That's an auto darkening one I got on sale for 40 bucks. So they're pretty inexpensive. I got the electrode holder for, I don't remember, I think it was 15 bucks, something like that, 10, 15 bucks, Harbor Freight. Brass ground clamp. I got these push connectors for the, you know, to push into the control box. I got those from a welding supply store. I think they're, you know, like 15 bucks for the pair. They didn't have a black one, so I painted that one black. The welding lead was probably the most expensive item on this list. I got, I haven't pulled it apart, you know, I forget what I got. I think I got 40 feet, and it cost me a little over 100 bucks to get the wire for the welding lead, and that's number 4 welding lead. Control box I built out of 14 gauge steel. I had that left over from another project I did years ago. The gauge, you can get a DC voltmeter for on eBay for anywhere, depending on what you want, for anywhere from $10 to $100, depending on what you want. I think I got 20 bucks into those welding connectors in there, and 15 bucks for a switch. It adds up. I think I got a couple $100 into this welder, but it's a lot cheaper than $1,000 for a store-bought unit, and it does the same thing just as well. You know, so remember, this would be your positive welding lead, and then your negative welding lead is just chassis ground. Okay, so this on my control box is the red lug, and this is the black lug, and it goes into the control box. This would be positive, this would be negative if you're welding off your own vehicle. Okay, so if you got a part and you've got it set up on a log someplace, and you're welding and you're not welding on the vehicle, this would get plugged into the black, this would get plugged into the red. Okay, now if you actually have to weld on the vehicle, okay, so you're welding on your own vehicle that the welder's hooked up to, follow me? You've got a weldernator on your truck, you've cracked the frame, so now you got to weld, you got to booger the frame to get back together. What you want to do is you want to take those welding leads, remember, black to black, red to red, you want to take those out and reverse them. Okay, So now this would be plugged into the black side of your control box, and this would be plugged into the red side. Follow me? You got to reverse the polarity is what I'm trying to say. I'm sure it has something to do with keeping your battery intact so you don't blow your battery up. But just remember that. If you do this kind of a modification and you have to weld on your vehicle, reverse the polarity on your... So it works. It's probably not the optimum weld, but it'll work in a pinch. So that concludes the weldernator. I do have the air compressor just about ready to go. I need to go get a gas cap for it. But check this out. Ooh, she's pretty. Built this little guard here to keep little fingers out of the belt. I even painted the rest of the engine to match. Huh? All flat black. I got to figure out how I'm going to get 12 volts to this thing. I'll probably just hook up jumper cables for now and put it in the driveway to test it, show you how it works. But right now it's Sunday, little afternoon. It's about 100 million degrees here in Pahrump. It's hot outside. And the babies are in bed sleeping. Deb had to leave this morning, about 5 o'clock this morning. She took Tanner and she went to Arkansas to say goodbye to her dad. Her dad's not doing well. So yeah, she took off this morning to go to Arkansas to be with her father. So, and she took the old one. She took my oldest. That's okay because he's a great road tripper. He's 2 months old. He did a 2,000-mile road trip with mom and dad, so he's used to that kind of thing. But so it's just me and the twins. But they're in bed sleeping, and I'm wrapping up some things here. When they get up, I'll go to Home Depot and get some things to finish this up. Maybe I'll make a video yet tonight to close that air compressor thing out, and I need to start getting on the jerry can stuff and all the racks and stuff, and I'll make videos of that stuff. So if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.